I give the call to the member for Sydney.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, Australians have been troubled recently. They've been troubled by the news they've been watching on their TVs at night. Events at home, events around the world have led many to wonder about the type of world we're living in at the moment. And of course, at times of trouble, the most important question we can ask ourselves are we stronger together? And what can we do to make our nation stronger together? We've seen stories of Australians who have inexplicably, to most of us, gone overseas to fight. But just as inexplicably to me, Mr Deputy Speaker, we've seen stories of Australians graffitiing mosques, pulling the headscarves off girls, threatening school children, one man alleged to have gone into a Muslim school and threatened children at that school with a knife. Jewish kids in Sydney threatened on a bus. Sikh taxi drivers, because some people are too dumb to tell the difference, Sikh taxi drivers threatened when they've been driving their taxis. And I have to say, Mr Deputy Speaker, that these two problems, the problem of radicalisation and the problem of racism, are two sides of the one coin. And as Australians, we have to reject both of them outright. Neither of these represents the Australia that we're part of. Mr Deputy Speaker, I remember a few years ago I was at the Royal National Park with my mum and dad and my kids, and my dad told a guy not to get too close to the ducklings because he'd disturb them. And this man said to my father, "You should go back where you came from." After 65 years living in Australia, paying his taxes, raising his kids to be good citizens, and the shock of it was not the stupid racism. The shock of it was being told that he didn't belong after 65 years in this country. We cannot afford to say to any Australian now, "You do not belong." Our responsibility is to show our strength by embracing diversity, embracing difference, and speaking to all of our communities about what makes Australia stronger. One of the best things about being a federal member of parliament, one of the things I enjoy the very most, is going to citizenship ceremonies. Because at those citizenship ceremonies we meet people who have chosen Australia as their home. They've chosen to become part of our national family. And we say at each of those citizenship ceremonies our pledge. I pledge loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. There is no more elegant or eloquent expression of our Australian values. Our values of democracy, of human rights, liberties and the rule of law. And I've said it before, Mr Deputy Speaker, I think Australian school kids should learn this pledge because it is such an elegant and eloquent description of what it is to be Australian. This year, Vietnamese refugee Huy Van Le became the new Governor of South Australia, and he said when he was a young fellow he remembers experiencing racism, but then it really melted away until he said Pauline Hanson made that maiden speech in this parliament. And this is my plea to members here today, to remember our special responsibility as leaders, to say clearly in the Australian community that we value difference, we embrace diversity. What makes us different makes us stronger. You know, there were 20 nationalities represented at the Eureka Stockade, that birth of Australian nationalism, those people fighting together, standing up for a fair go for other Australians. And I think of that as one of the seminal moments in our history. But it was people from many nations coming together to say about their new home, these are the values we live by, this is the way we expect to treat one another, this is what it is to be part of the new Australia. Our leadership matters. Our words matter. It is our responsibility to say again and again, in the face of division, in the face of divisiveness, that we are stronger together.
to